Hi, I'm Rob Marsden, Head of Digital at Red Stag Media, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favourite topics, and that is how to pick your SEO battles. So what do I mean by this? Well, I've talked before about content marketing and keyword research, putting those two together and building out a comprehensive strategy to deliver incremental traffic to your website through good content. But keyword research is a really important part of that, but it's not enough by itself. You've got to layer keyword research on top of competitor analysis and, more importantly, SERP analysis to make sure that you can actually rank for the keywords you're trying to optimize for with your content. So I'm going to go through a few things today to be thinking about when you're performing SERP analysis and give you a little bit of an idea about how I'm thinking when I'm performing my own analysis and choosing topics to cover for our clients. So the first one that we're going to look at is DA, which stands for Domain Authority. So some of you that have been around the SEO world for a while will know about this metric. So Domain Authority is not a Google metric. It's not even a Google recognized metric when it comes to the algorithm, although some of the sort of external spokespeople at Google, you will hear them talking about this and answering questions about this. But what Domain Authority is, it's a third-party metric that was devised by an SEO software company called Moz, and with the absence of any specific metric directly from Google, which we used to get with PageRank back in the day, this is I suppose, one of the closest metrics that we can get to trying to evaluate through a website's backlink profile how likely it is to rank in search. It's a logarithmic scale, so going from DA1 to DA10, for example, is a lot easier than it is to go from, say, DA60 to DA70. But on a scale of 1 to 100, that can give you a good idea about how well a domain is likely to rank in search. So when you're sitting down, you're doing your SERP analysis, have a look at the SERPs and have a look at those 10 results that are ranking on page 1. And if you've got a lot of high domain authority websites in there, it might be something that you take a view on and think, actually, we might not be able to compete on that because our domain authority is much lower. Now, that's not to say that a lower domain authority site can't go up against a higher domain authority site, but it means that you've got to have much better content, and it means that other things have got to fit into place to allow you to potentially outrank them. But a SERP that's full with high DA sites might be quite difficult to rank for. So that's one of the 6 that I'm going to go through today. So the next one is UGC. That is user generated content. So what do I mean by this? Well, when you're sitting down and you're performing SERP analysis, if you're seeing a lot of results that are made up of user generated content, that might, and I stress might, be an indicator that there are some lower quality results within that SERP, and you might be able to, with a good piece of content, outrank some of those. Now, one of the last things that we'll cover is search intent, and I'll come back to this in a second, but just to mention it briefly because it's relevant here. If people, or if Google thinks that the search intent behind that specific query actually calls for some user-generated content, i.e. that might be a forum result or something like that, it might actually be that people are wanting to find a result like that and they want to see a discussion going on about it. So it's not to say that when you see forum results and stuff like that, it is easy to rank and that's the end of it. But it might be that there are some older forum threads, some forum threads ranking with only 3 or 4 comments on there. When you read them, they might not be particularly helpful to what the keyword is that you're trying to rank for, you're trying to create content for, and that might give you an idea about what you need to do in terms of positioning your content to outrank that. It might be that it's an in-depth thread on Reddit or something like that, and there's a lot of people getting involved in the discussion. It's actually, when you look at the content, there's a lot of words that are being spoken. It might be quite high value for somebody that's searching on a particular topic to discover that, in which case it might not be that easy to outrank, but you need to take a view on it. A lot of this stuff is a learned art, and you will see with experience what works well and what doesn't. But that's another thing to look for. Is there any user-generated content in that SERP? So the next one is SERP features. Now, this is not really about outranking different features. It's about thinking about if you did rank on the first page, how much traffic are you likely to get? A really good example is that Google's been pushing YouTube hard for the last few years, and in some informational based searches, they're showing a big YouTube box right at the top that is very relevant to the search query. That video will answer that question very well, and actually it might be that the majority of people can quickly watch that and in 30 seconds get the answer that they want without needing to scroll down to the results below. Therefore, the results below as a collective will have a much lower click-through rate than what that SERP might get if that YouTube box wasn't in there. So think about the SERP features and take a view on that as you're doing your analysis. The next one is thin content. So there's a big debate in SEO about how long content should be in order to rank well. And really, Google's always said this, that it's not down to the length of the content, it's down to the value of the content that you deliver. It might be that it's a really quick question and a very short, sort of 800 to 1,000 word article might be able to cover that in sufficient depth. That might be a 5-minute read. It might be that it's a big topic with a lot of sub-questions, and it might be that you need a 2,500 word piece to actually rank well on that, maybe even more in some cases. Have a look at how many words are on each of the top 10 results, and you can do some calculating of averages and things like that, but if actually you think that it's an in-depth topic and it warrants a chunky piece of content, yet you've got 2 or 3 500 word articles ranking on page 1, then it might be that that's a sign of weakness in that SERP. And with a good, well-researched piece that's got a bit of depth to it, you might be able to outrank those. Again, none of these metrics that I'm going through here, or these things to look at, should be done in isolation. It's all about SERP analysis, taking into account all of these and more. This is just the starting point. But yeah, when you discover thin content, it might be that there's some weakness, and with a good piece of content, you can get in there and rank. The next one is results being not on point. So if we're talking about an informational query, for example, it might be that a specific question is being asked by the searcher, yet the results in the SERPs are not quite answering that question correctly, or they're answering a question that's similar to it, but not quite the question that's been asked. And in that case, that suggests that there's a lack of content answering the question that you're actually asking or that you want to rank for, because Google is very good at understanding natural language, understanding context, and answering questions exactly how you want. So if there's nothing there, or there's a few results that are not on point, it might signal that there's an opportunity to get in there and create a good piece of content answering that exact question, and you might be able to rank. Again, have a look at everything, not just that thing. So the last one, and this is important for all of these, is search intent. You've got to put yourself in the mind of the searcher. Think about if someone was going to search for this keyword, they were going to type that into Google, what would they be looking to achieve? What would they be thinking? What content would they want to actually discover? If you're thinking about creating a blog post on a particular, it might be a product or item or category of products or something like that, yet Google's returning a load of e-commerce pages, the search intent, really, Google thinks that that's a transactional query and not an informational query. So you creating informational content to try and rank that would be quite difficult. If you're seeing a mixture, then yeah, you might have a chance. But if you're seeing Google showing a load of e-commerce pages, actually you might need to rethink that keyword. But think about what the searcher wants to achieve. What action do they want to take after searching for that question or that topic, that keyword, and give them exactly what they're looking for. Because if you can match user intent, taking into account all these other things, then you put yourself in the best position to rank the content that you're creating based on that original keyword research. So I hope that helps. This is quite a big topic, but one that I'm quite passionate about. So if you've got any more questions about it, feel free to get in touch and we'll have a chat through it gladly. See you next time on Agri Marketing Mastery.